Hey everyone, I'm Rum, and welcome to a different kind of video where I'm going to be talking about my top 30 legendary weapons to farm. Before we get into it, this is a very much filler video before my next big video. I'm trying to work around my next upload because of the fact that it is going to be the longest edited video that I've ever had to make. I gotta make something in between now and then. I have 30 weapons here that everyone should be farming either for this season or the next one. And we'll start off with explaining how this list is set up. There's 10 weapons marked high, medium, and low priority. High priority weapons are weapons that you should get right now, that they're always going to be, there's going to be like some niche for every single class or for one class that makes it so that way it is almost a requirement to use it at like pinnacle gameplay. And then we have the medium priority, which is should have it because maybe in the future it'll be better. Maybe it's good in some encounters than others. They fill a niche that's similar to these ones, to the high priority, but not quite. And then we have low priority, which are weapons that you should have just around, not really necessary to always have them in your inventory. Might swap onto it, might be playing a build that buffs it. Also, my camera's kind of covering it. There are alternatives to some of the weapons, at least most of them. Next thing we have to explain with this chart is that if something is marked high priority, it is high priority. It does not matter what number the weapon is. The only thing that matters is the fact that it is the same priority. And that's everything out of the way, so we can start with Refurbished A499. This is the king of DPS. Sniper's Meditation increases its damage by so much. It stacks Sniper's Meditation really quick as well. And it does have a very big downside, which is the reload speed. And you're going to be always reloading with the weapon since it has one shot in it. Some stuff you can do to get around Refurbished reload speed is one, kinetic loaders. Always good to have those. If it's your main damage, want to have a reload mod on with it. Just constant DPS with it afterwards. Like you also have artifact mods. If you're a hunter, you have marksman dodge. If you're on warlock, prismatic with stasis turrets and the facet of command. Titans is a little different. I think Titans just put down your rally barricade and have an increased reload speed there. You don't have a way to auto reload it unless you're using your leg mod. And to be honest, using your leg mods with Refurbished after I've personally used it, unless you have another weapon that matches its DPS, I don't think it's worth having a holster on it because I'd rather just have the surges. But yeah, like this weapon is insanely strong. It's good in a lot of bosses. For an alternative, I have nothing. Literally nothing can replace this gun. There's nothing else like it. The closest there is Whisper, and this is only legendary weapons, by the way. I'm not going to go into exotics. As you can see at the bottom, I have garbage loot and exotics. We'll get to both of those in another video. But yeah, there's really nothing that can replace Refurbished, at least in my opinion. I think we're going to further expand on heavy snipers. Hopefully, Refurbished stays good. It's a kinetic weapon, but maybe they're going to release another heavy sniper that out DPSs it, and maybe even has like a better origin trait in my opinion, because the origin trait is like barely noticeable on Refurbished, I think. Moving on, Uncivil Discourse, a special ammo hand cannon, and yes, it stacks with Lucky Pants. Uncivil Discourse is a really well made gun. Dynamic heat with it makes it so that way you have to wait a longer time in order to shoot it when you reload in order for a perfect vent. But when you hit that perfect vent, you have an even bigger magazine, and it works really well. In PvP, for one, if you're running invasions, I think I haven't seen a single invader without Uncivil Discourse on their hip. In PvE, it's also really good for those, like I said before, Lucky Pants DPS. I just tried using it with Crimson, and I liked it a lot with Crimson, but I also like it a lot by itself. However, I do understand why people are just like, well, I want it to maximize as much damage as I can get with it by itself, because by the time you reload without stacking it, you already used up all of Lucky Holster. I completely understand why people want to use it with Crimson. However, I think by itself, this weapon is still good. Off of Lucky Pants, however, still a good pickup regardless. And it's also got really good synergy with Bolt Charge Titan as well. And we'll get into why in a second, as well as Prismatic Warlock. The role you're looking for, and I didn't say this for Refurbished, however, you guys can see them right there. Cooling Bubbles in PI is really good. I also like Air Trigger in PI. PI just gives you a crazy attack bonus. I love having this on a hand cannon. It doesn't matter what kind. Cooling Baubles is a insane perk especially for heat weapons. Every time you discharge Bolt Charge, that refunds some ammo. Every time you pick up a Stasis Shard, that refunds ammo. Every time you pick up anything like an Orb of Power or so on and so forth, Cooling Baubles is really, really good. It's just insane. Trust me, this weapon is really good. I think everyone should have one. Cooling Baubles PI can be changed. The only perk that I think should stick in your guys' like vault is Precision Instrument. Next we have Fast Talker. So the Fast Talker SMG is the new SMG added with Renegades, and you won't believe it, this is really good on Peacekeeper Titan. For some reason, the last like 3 seasons have been like a PK Titan DPS meta. I personally don't mind it. We started off with Edge of Fate. Edge of Fate then turned into Reclamation. Reclamation then turned into Renegades. So those 3 seasons have all each had a PK as meta. And right now, Fast Talker is at the top of it. What you're looking for, Cooling Baubles and Target Lock. Just like with Uncivil Discourse, it's even better on Arc because if you get Accelerated Assault with Fast Talker and Cooling Baubles, every time you discharge Bolt Charge, you basically get an entire magazine back. I think it's also the longest magazine we've had. Fast Talker, I think, is even better than Antidate, and not just because of Accelerated Assault, but also the fact that you get more shots in it after a perfect reload, and it's just so much damage that it could just pump out. It's pretty busted. For an alternative, I have Multi-Mock for Fast Talker, although the reason why I didn't put in Antidate, like I just said, 1, Antidate is already on this list, and we'll get to that in a second, and 2, Antidate's in another slot. Multi-Mock is more ad clear and super generation, while Fast Talker is more damage and just ability generation, I guess, or ability spam, I should say. Then we have Sullen Claw. This is my baby, along with another weapon we're gonna get into. I love Sullen Claw. I think using it on every class is good. Skating with it is much different than your normal skate. You don't go as far, but you go twice as fast. If you don't have skates, you have a lot of momentum every time you use the Eager Edge swing. And not just that, thanks to Assassin's Blade, every time you get a kill with it, you get increased movement speed. You swap to it, you get an Eager Edge kill, proc Assassin's Blade, and then you run twice as fast. It's a really fast sword. I've personally been using it for my speed runs. Do I think it's better than other Eager Edge swords? Strictly for the fact of if you cannot skate, yes. I think Sullen Claw on Titan is probably the strongest without skating. And the reason why is because of the momentum I just talked about. You get a lot of it. Hunters and Warlocks, skating is a very big thing for speed runs for 1 and raids. And the issue is that if it is a raid / dungeon / speed run that doesn't have a very clear line of skating, i.e. Sunder Doctrine, Vespers has like 2 areas you can skate to. I'm trying to think. Warlord's Ruin. Warlord's Ruin you can skate some. Like other things like that. Raid wise, Salvations you can skate. So I would rather not have Sullen Claw. I would rather have something like Slammer. So on and so forth. Like if you don't have a clear line of a skate, I think Sullen Claw outperforms every other Eager Edge sword just because it is much more mobility. As an alternative, I literally have any Eager Edge sword. Like, I'm not personally using this sword for boss damage, even though I know it actually has the insane damage perk of Bait and Switch Vorpal Weapon, which is only one other weapon that has that role, and we're going to get to that weapon soon. But even then, I still think I have other swords I'd rather use for boss damage. Using it, I just thought I would rather either use the Lightsaber or I'd rather use Wolfsbane. That's just my opinion. If you like this weapon for boss damage, all power to you. I personally don't like it, and that's okay. Moving on, we have Psi Eterna. It's the only weapon that fits the niche, right? It is a energy rocket-assisted pulse. You're using it for boss damage. It's extremely good on Arc Titan, again, because of Bolt Charge, which makes it really good to pair with Fast Talker. For your perks, I have Blast Distributor and Elemental Honing. I've also seen a lot of people use Trickle Charge. I also like it with Trickle Charge, but Blast Distributor giving me a big stat increase to my grenades, especially on Arc Titan, with Touch of Thunder is really, really, really noticeable. So you end up with 65 grenade stat at max stacks. I don't really know how you get to 5. I've always gotten to 3. And even then, that is a lot of grenade stat, and it's hard to ignore. So if you're not at 200 grenade stat, Sciaturna is an amazing weapon to pair with Arc Titan. I also think it's really good for the Warlocks because Blast Distributor on Warlock, your buddies do more damage the higher your grenade stat is. How is that not good, right? Like, it's just some things just make too much sense. Elemental Honing is there because there is no other damage increase option. I cannot deny how good this weapon is as much as I want to. I have one. I use it often. I actually have 2, one with Trickle Charge, one with Blast Distributor. Both have Elemental Honing. And even though I have it there as high priority, I truly think if you don't have Elemental Honing on it, it is not worth keeping. Jolting Feedback maybe, but just try to farm for the Elemental Honing, especially when it's a focus drop in the alerts. So that way you have a guaranteed accelerated assault origin trait. High up on my list, personally, to farm, but make sure it is that specific perk combo. Moving on, we have Mint Retrograde. Ooh, what a thunk. So this would be on my 30 weapons to farm list. Mint is still good. It is still great. And the only issue I have with Mint is that I have it as a 5 out of 5 difficulty to get. Oh, I guess I never really explained that. Every weapon on my list has a difficulty meter on a scale of 1 to 5. Mint Retrograde at one point last season was a 2 out of 5 because you could just buy it from Zavala. Now, I think the only way you can get it is from Hawthorne. And Hawthorne, you only have 5 engrams per week if your clan is active. If it's not active, you probably have even less chances because no one's doing anything. I am really happy to be in the spot that I'm at with my very active clan. We're getting 5 engrams every week, probably in 2 or 3 days of the reset. So I've had a lot more opportunity to farm Mint 5 out of 5 because it's super hard to get now until they release a new method to achieve it, which I don't even know if they will. It's going to stay on a 5 out of 5 for me. You're only going to use Mint for one thing, and that's boss damage. If you want more ammo gen, Envious Arsenal and Chain Reaction both generate a lot more ammo. They give a huge buff to the ammo generation stat. However, with the nerf to its ammo, I really think that I'm only using this for boss damage now. It's just the nerf is definitely felt. However, I don't think it is anywhere off of the top damage charts. I still think get it if you can. If you can't get it, Sciaturna. Do your guys' best. Try to get your clan to be active. If not, join an active clan. Shout out Wolfpack. You guys should join up. It's a really awesome clan, very active community. We have a bunch of raids, Crucible events. Join, please. Return Memory is another issue with the fact that you cannot farm this weapon from Crucible Ops anymore. You can only get it from Hawthorne. I've gotten 2 from Hawthorne. If that's lucky, that's good. If it's unlucky, because for me, I thought it was, there's just no other way to get this weapon currently. The origin traits are pretty nice. Wildcard is a extremely good ad clear origin trait. Otherwise, I'm sorry guys, Hawthorne is your only option. But there is an alternative, which is a Baron Action, which if you play during Echoes, you probably have a crafted version. If you didn't play during Echoes, you're gonna have to wait for Xur, and that is never fun because Xur might not have the weapon. So even if I had these weapons swapped, both of these are 5 out of 5 difficulties, which, sorry guys. Moving on. Gizmo Weft, my other baby. This thing has not left my inventory, and if it ever did, I said this in my last video too, if it ever did, it was because I swapped it to another character. Gizmo is a great weapon. What I'm looking for on it, and I already have on it, is Air Trigger Bipod. If I did not have that role, Slideways Bipod is also good. As a replacement, in the energy slot, you have Theodolite, and in the same slot, we have Mountaintop. And then we have Velocibaton. An old goat just popped into the stream. Velocibaton is by far the best area denial, and I can't even deny it. It has fallen off with the Attrition Orbs nerf. For those who don't know, before Edge of Fate, Attrition Orbs on area denials, it was nerfed. It's not great. Instead, you're using this for ad clear, and because of the ad clear, you're generating a lot more orbs with a Siphon mod, which is why I have here still orb generation / ad clear with destabilizing rounds and repulsor brace. You have to do Vesper's Host. I know a lot of people don't like that dungeon. I personally don't mind it. Very easy farm, very easy to focus it. It's not that hard to get. It's a pretty good area denial. I think it's still the best one. As an alternative, I have their Psychopomp and Motif, although I think Velocity Baton and Repulsor Brace on every other class, including Void, is a much better buff than Scorch as a debuff. Last on the high priority list is a Good Shout, a weapon I wrote off as soon as I seen it. I wrote it off. Crossbows have been super disappointing for me. However, a Good Shout with Envious Arsenal and High Ground is awesome. You also have Rampage, which is what I've been using. I've been using Envious Arsenal and Rampage because of the buff that Rampage just got. However, there's a lot more tech that you have to do. Killing it adds, picking up the arrows again, going back into doing damage on the boss, yada yada yada. You're probably not doing that all the time. Pairing this with Wither Horde and on Mobius Quiver Hunter, I have out DPS'd a lot of people. A Good Shout is awesome. If you guys haven't seen those insane tech videos, go look them up. The people are hitting Wither Horde into Trace Rifle, into Good Shout, back into Trace Rifle, back into Good Shout, back into Great. It's just like it's so like mind boggling. Yeah, Good Shout. It's good. Believe it or not, it's good. Moving on. Bam, 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 to the medium priority. Like I said, everything is not in order, but everything in the priority should be the same as each other. Conspiracy Homed, probably the best sniper in the game, aside from Refurbished. This weapon has the ultimate god roll of Bait and Switch and Vorpal Weapon, which we talked about on Sullen Claw. Double DPS perk combination. And the reason why you don't want to reload perk on this is because of the fact that you're not really going to be reloading it anyways. No heat weapons, I'm not sure if you guys noticed this, no heat weapons have a reload perk on them, since their origin trait already technically gives them a higher magazine. That said, also stowing a heat weapon also decreases its heat, which allows you to basically shoot it off again. I think you get up to like 11 shots with it, which is a lot. I think you're sooner to lose Bait and Switch with that roll than you are to run out of shots to put into a boss. It's really good. You can focus it, and every single encounter will drop it for you, right? The only thing that changes is if you have a tier 5 version because of feats, or if you don't have a tier 5 version because you didn't put feats on. The other alternative that you have is Praetus Revenge, which is a close second. Praetus can have more ammo in it, but have less damage because of the fact that one, it's not a heat weapon, and two, it doesn't have Vorpal and Bait and Switch at the same time. It just has Bait and Switch. That is like the downside to Praetus. And even then, Praetus is still a really good option. Another weapon that you could run is probably Supremacy, just not for me. I'd rather use Praetus over it. And with that said, moving on to Synuncia. I do not know how to say this sword. I thought I did. I don't. It is another 5 out of 5 roll, and I think this one itself might deserve a 6 out of 5. I don't know if they're ever going to bring this weapon back. Dead serious. It used to be from event drops. It was for Arms Week, the first one, and it was a fairly common drop during those events. But now the fact that those events are gone, I don't know if Bungie's going to bring back all the event weapons. Maybe they will in the future. I doubt it. It is a great damage sword. I think personally, I have it over my Summon Bonum and my Bequest as well, although I have those down as alternatives. I'll scroll down so you guys can see it. That this weapon not only outperforms every other sword's damage, I think it also has the most utility. Another surprise to me, the fact that it is a wave frame definitely increases its potential, I guess you could say. It has a really good ad clear as well. However, I'm not using it personally for ad clear. I'm using it for boss damage. The other options that I thought of were Guillotine and Slammer. And even then, I'd rather use those other two, not for damage, but for skating. Then we have Corundum Hammer. You can only get it from Trials of Osiris. It is an insane weapon for shoot to loot. It's also got some really good ad clear rolls as well with Explosive Payload Firefly. Your other alternative is Vulpecula. So if you're not using it for that niche of shoot to loot, and you probably don't even want this weapon. However, I know recently I've been using a lot of other weapons that aren't in the kinetic slot for damage. I wanted to have one with shoot to loot at least for ammo pickups. That's really all I could say about it. There's not really too special about it aside from that. Good ad clear, ammo pickup. It's sweet. No hesitation. This is a weapon that I think is extremely good in contest and cutthroat, and not really good anywhere else. If you're doing like master raids or more difficult like master dungeons, especially in non-solo content, you don't really need more healing. Our guardians don't really take too much damage. They don't die too often, but when they do, can you even heal them from the damage they took? The second option you have here is from the epic Desert Perpetual Cusp Sempiternal. I personally like this weapon a lot. Cusp, I mean, and the reason why is because I get void shields for healing my teammates, which is even more damage resistance. However, I have to admit, no hesitation heals way more. Moving on, we have the Ikelos shotgun. I have it down as a 4 to 5 because Xur sells it. I do not recommend this shotgun to people who are not big into melee builds. If you don't have a melee build, and we're getting into another one as well that I'm going to talk about, if you're not into them, like Grapple Melee on Hunter or Strand Titan or Bonk Titan, you could probably live without Ikelos. Not only can you live, you'll probably thrive without farming it, because I know a lot of people don't want to just keep looking at Xur every single week to see if if he has this one niche shotgun. Nevertheless, I got mine. And my role is Grave Robber 1-2 Punch, because every time I'm doing a melee damage, I have a chance to reload. As an alternative here, I have Found Verdict. The reason why I have that as the bill is because of the fact that next shotgun is in the kinetic slot, which, speaking of, let's move on to that one. Perfect Paradox, another Xur shotgun drop. Perfect Paradox also has the origin trait. I forget what its name. Basically what you do, every time you get a melee attack, you reload a shell into the shotgun. And powered melee attacks load in 2 shells. And your only alternative to Perfect Paradox is Swordbreaker. Do you really want to use Swordbreaker in the big 2-5? I don't think so. 1-2 Punch is a straightforward damage meta. You're using Ikelos or using Perfect Paradox, and you're pairing this either with Navigator for your Strand, Solar, Titan. I don't really think there is one for Warlocks yet. So Warlocks, skip both of these shotguns. You can live without both of them. If you only play Warlock and you don't want to play the other classes, or you're just not interested in a melee build, you can skip these shotguns. Next thing we have here is the Yeartide Apex, which you get from Solstice, another 5 out of 5 roll, because I don't know if it's coming back. And you use this for add, clear, and heal spam. You can live without this weapon. I honestly feel less bad for this people that missed out on this SMG compared to the other stuff, because this SMG probably has the most replacements. Not much else to say about that. Then we had the Finite Maybe, another Desert Perpetual weapon. Finite Maybe is a aggressive frame fusion rifle. Really, really good for those close range boss fights. I love it on Sanguine Warlock with Finality's Augur. And I pair that up with another Mint Retrograde as well. Or even Parasite. That's another good one. Parasite and Finite Maybe is a great combination. Because of the fact that it is a horizontal shooting pattern rather than the vertical, it makes this weapon insanely good at melting bosses like Korgos, the Ogre from Grasp, the Ogre from Last Wish, not Seer, but I know people like to use it on Seer from Equilibrium. The Gladiator boss from Equilibrium was also pretty good on, but I'd rather use swords on him anyways. And that's important to note because Finite Maybe, there's a lot of other options. If your boss is already close enough for you to use Finite Maybe, you're probably already close enough to either use shotguns or close enough to use swords. I think I actually meant to put Reconstruction Bane Switch. You get like 14 shots into the single mag because of Reconstruction. You also have here Controlled Burst, which is another good option. IMO, Bane Switch, easier to proc. Keeping on with our fusion rifle train, Riptide making another return. I do like this weapon actually. For the perks, I have Overflow and Control Burst, especially with the fact that now it has the new origin trait, Accelerated Assault. As you're shooting it, you're going to load more ammo into the magazine. It's an old love. It's your first crush of a fusion rifle. That's the way I explain it. Dropped during Seasonal Haunted, came back even better than it was before with the same perks and more. However, I think you should still get it because of all of its add clear potential too, which you have like Crystalline Corpse Bloom, you have Chill Clip, you have Overflow, you have Substance, auto-loading holster as well. For now, I have Riptide here on my medium priority. Get it, maybe it's good later, or maybe it's just always going to be the middle of the pack, and even then middle of the pack is not bad. The next primary weapon I have here, Reckless Oracle from Garden of Salvation. Just like all the other primaries, you have it here for the debuff spread and for good add clear. The reason why I have Reckless Oracle here and not Age-Old Bond is because of the fact that I think having a rapid fire assault rifle in PvE is much better than a aggressive one. You spread more destabilizing rounds thanks to the fact that it gives you volatile rounds every time you get a kill, and therefore more repulsive race. Like it's much better than Age-Old Bond. If you don't have and you don't feel like farming Reckless Oracle and you have Age-Old Bond, I guess you can use it, but at that point you're probably better off looking at other primaries or even other special weapons and then just like combine the two. Now we're on to our low priority weapons. These are weapons that maybe you want to farm, want to see a good role for them. Maybe you want to see a role that you haven't seen before, or you just want something to do. These are your weapons to get. Starting off with the When and Where from Des Perpetual, you have Recon Bait and Switch. Also have Clown Cartridge Bait and Switch. You also have, instead of Bait and Switch, you have Reaper's Tithe, which is also a pretty slept on perk IMO. For those of old heads, Explosive Light is also on this weapon. And you also have Elements of Honing. I haven't mentioned that. My bad. In case you want to shoot out a bunch of rockets, Overflow instead of Recon, as well as Bipod in the fourth column. So Recon, Bipod, Overflow, whichever have you. It's hard for me to recommend rockets, but this is the first rocket that I recommend to people who want to do rocket DPS. For alternatives, strictly for the fact that they match the same element and kind of the same niche, I have the Cold Comfort. Another rocket that I recommend even more than Cold Comfort is Peasant's Vengeance. Easy farm, it's from Vogue, you can craft it, and you have Envious Arsenal and Bait and Switch on it. Who would have thought this weapon was good, especially paired with its origin trait? I use it personally with Still Hunt, since they both match surges. If you don't like rocket swapping, skip rockets. Use another weapon. So that was kind of awkward. I had the wrong weapon there. Here we have the Zealous Ideal, another primary ammo weapon that I think it is much easier to get than Yeartide Apex, and it has a lot more combinations than it. However, I think the fact that it is an auto rifle instead of a submachine gun kind of knocks it down. The reason why is because of the fact that submachine guns have a much higher fire rate, therefore have a much higher TTK. So I personally prefer Yeartide Apex over this. We're using them for the same thing. Heal Clip and Can. Another option that you have here is, like I said before, Yeartide Apex or Abyss Defiant for Solar Auto. Don't really need too many primaries in the energy slot, especially with Sciaturna. You really want to use this weapon or have a niche idea with it, like I use it for my Wolfsbane build for solar orb generation. Yeah, it's just a good auto rifle. Moving on, we have Unvoiced and Heritage. Just like Perfect Paradox and Ikelos shotgun, they fill the same niche. However, Unvoiced and Heritage are, instead of 1-2 punch, these are precision based shotguns. You're using them same time, just swapping between each other. 1-2 shot, 1-2 shoot, 1-2 shoot, 1-2 shoot. For Sundered, for Unvoiced, we have Envious Arsenal, Bane Switch, and for Heritage, we have Reconstruction and Focused Fury. It's a really good shotgun combination as well between both of them. For Unvoiced, if you don't have it or don't want to farm it, Pure Collection, the double shotgun. And for Heritage, Trachnius and Supercluster are both really good alternatives. But I still think that both of these shotguns, despite their fact that both of them shoot slower than the other two alternatives, however, they're much more easier to control. Moving on, we have Antedate, which is strictly for the fact that I think if you're on PK Titan and you don't want to use Fast Talker, or you just don't feel like farming Fast Talker, Antedate is right there. And I also feel vice versa. If you don't want to farm Antedate, farm Fast Talker. Antedate, Target Lock, Rewind rounds. No replacement for it because there's just no other SMG aside from Fast Talker and Antedate to be willing to mention. I guess we'll move on from that. That was a very quick discussion with it. Chill Inhibitor, my old king. GLs are always in a state of, are we back yet? Chill Inhibitor was the first GL, I think, that marked the moment where grenade launchers, heavy grenade launchers, were in their peak. However, if they ever do buff it, Chill Inhibitor and the next one that I'm going to mention as well, which might as well do at the same time again, Outrageous Fortune. Both of these GLs are really well made. They're both Envious Arsenal Bait and Switch GLs, easiest to manage, and they're good swaps as well. Like, just overall good grenade launchers. My only downside is Chill Inhibitor, you have to do Vesper's Host, which you can focus, so it's not that bad. Outrageous Fortune, I think you can only get from Hawthorne, and Zavala has sold it since the swap. However, I think it's still I don't really trust Zavala selling these things because apparently they change as well. I just don't think it's attainable from Zavala. If he does sell it, pick it up. Much easier to get Chillin' Hib than it is to get Outrageous Fortune. So try to shoot for Chillin' Hib, guys. If you guys can't get it, Edge Transit from the Onslaught playlist, which is in the Pinnacle Ops. Also Cataphract, which is from Trials. And now we have the last two weapons. Here we have Bitter End from Equilibrium. Ad Clear on it is awesome. Countering Invaders is awesome with it as well. For Arc Titan, it's really good for boss spam. If you're not on PKs, pairing this up with Bolt Charge, Barricade, as well as Jolting Back and Trickle Charge, it's a really good LMG. As a replacement here, I have Watchful Eye. Shout out if you guys remember that LMG. Both are pretty good at jolting and clearing out ads with said jolt. However, I think Trickle Charge is a much better perk than Overflow because you have to knowingly proc Overflow for it to be worth it. And then last, Compact Defender. It is the new sidearm from the Renegades activity. If you guys like sidearms, I think this is a sidearm to shoot for. Compact Defender has something going for it. PvP wise, I think it's a 5-tap to the head. However, I don't know how often you're going to hit precision hits with a sidearm. PvE wise, you have a lot of void debuff spreading, stacking up damage on more challenging combatants also as the heat builds up is really good. But admittedly, I'm not crazy about this sidearm. I'm much more crazier about special ammo sidearms. This one just does not wow me. It's just not enough for me to drop my other void primaries or secondaries as well. As an alternative here, I have the Lotus Eater rocket sidearm, which I would rather have instead of this. However, the only reason why Lotus Eater is not making it on the list is because there is no way for you to get that weapon. Xur has to sell it again. And I only have 2 weapons here that are sold from Xur, both of which I think deserve at least a mention because you see a lot of speedrunners use both of these weapons compared to Lotus Eater, which is a very niche and techy kind of weapon. And yeah, guys, that is my legendary list. If you guys want to farm these weapons, I think all of these are worth the farm. If they're not worth the farm to you, there are other things to grind for. And if you think I missed a legendary weapon, let me know, because honestly, there's so many guns within Destiny that I feel you should try to get them, regardless of if you're doing a collection, if you're doing it to get better loot, if you're doing it to find out what's meta later. There's so many weapons to farm right now. This is just like a baseline of things to grab. All of that being said, guys, that is the end of my video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.